At the tender age of 7, my parents were taken from me by a deliberately orchestrated car accident. My elder brother, with a hardened heart, disregarded my cries and sent me to an orphanage. He said, "Zhao Zhao, it is far too dangerous by my side. Once everything is resolved, I will come to bring you home." Unbeknownst to him, the orphanage he entrusted me to was a den of malevolence, where I struggled in agony, contemplating death on numerous occasions. Yet, my heart ached for my brother. Should I perish, he would be heartbroken. Clinging to this thought, I managed to endure. On my 18th birthday, my brother returned to retrieve me, accompanied by his adopted sister, Lu Cece. Holding Lu Cece's hand, my brother wore a remorseful expression as he said, "Zhao Zhao, Cece has endured great hardships alongside me. Unlike you, who has enjoyed a life of relative comfort these past years, please grant her some understanding." I smiled and nodded, yet in my heart, I thought, with my brother having found companionship, I could depart this world without worry. In the end, my brother wept inconsolably at my bedside, pleading for me to open my eyes. But alas, I could no longer summon the strength to do so. At the age of 18, I finally received the eagerly awaited news that my brother would come to take me home. I was so excited that I couldn't sleep a wink the entire night. The following morning, I found myself incessantly gazing into the mirror, meticulously inspecting whether my appearance was in any way inappropriate. The clothes I wore were brand new and exquisite, devoid of any tears or patches, and utterly free of unpleasant odors, styles that I had never before had the privilege to wear. The portly director approached me with a beaming smile, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Zhao Zhao, you are indeed beautiful." A reflexive tremor coursed through my body, and my pupils dilated sharply. Instinctively, I curled up, seeking to shield my head. My movement was abruptly halted, a sharp pain shooting through my wrist. "You know full well what should and shouldn't be said, don't you, Zhao Zhao? Otherwise, you know the consequences." Terrified, I nodded in compliance, and only then did the director release me, humming a tune as he turned away. I pursed my lips, the joy of my new outfit dissipating. I declined the breakfast that the director had specially prepared, and before 7 o'clock, I stood at the entrance of the orphanage, eagerly awaiting my brother's arrival. He had promised to come at 8, yet as the clock hands past 9, there was still no sign of him. The director's expression began to betray a sense of glee. As expected, Zhao Zhao's longed-for brother seems not to care much for her after all. I had always feared the director, but when it came to this matter, I was stubborn to a fault. "You're wrong. My brother loves me dearly. He will come." As the sun grew more intense, and the clock approached 11, several grand vehicles pulled up in front of the orphanage. The second car door swung open, and a figure emerged from the back seat. The man was striking, his features sharp and his expression aloof, a small crimson mole adorning his lips. The face was both familiar and unfamiliar, yet instinctively I knew it was my brother. The only family I had in this world, after a decade apart. My legs moved forward involuntarily, first in a brisk walk, then breaking into a run. "Brother!" My smile had yet to fully bloom when I witnessed the previously aloof man bend down with a tender smile, drawing out a girl from the back seat. The girl appeared to be in a pout, her lips pursed, and my brother affectionately ruffled her hair with a helpless grin, the atmosphere radiating warmth. "Brother?" I stood frozen, gazing at the heartwarming scene, my voice faltering as I remained rooted to the spot, unsure whether to advance or retreat. The girl clinging to my brother's arm was stunningly beautiful, dressed exquisitely. The butterfly hairpin atop her head sparkled in the sunlight, while her dangling golden leaf earrings danced in the breeze, reminiscent of a princess from the fairy tales my brother had once told me in childhood. I lowered my gaze, awkwardly assessing my own appearance, suddenly feeling like a clownish duck who had mistakenly donned a princess's gown, overwhelmed by self-doubt. "Zhao Zhao." A melodious voice broke through my thoughts, and I looked up to see my brother with reddened eyes, as if confirming something, his voice trembling as he called out, "Zhao Zhao." A wave of emotion surged through me, bringing tears to my eyes. Without a second thought, I whispered, "Brother." In an instant, my body was enveloped in his strong embrace. His voice choked with emotion. "Zhao Zhao, my dear Zhao Zhao, I have finally found you." Unable to contain my own tears any longer, I wept in his arms. "I have missed you so much, brother. I think of you by day and dream of you by night, wondering what you are doing, if you are eating well, if you are sleeping soundly, if you are taking care of yourself, if you remember to come for me." At that moment, Joy mingled with sorrow, flooding my heart. I thought to myself, how fortunate I am to have my brother, how blessed he still remembers me, and how grateful I am that I didn't give up even when I felt utterly broken. Just then, a sweet voice interrupted our embrace. All right, brother. Let go of Zhao Zhao. It's rather embarrassing to hold her like that. The girl tugged at my brother's arm, pulling me away from his warm embrace. She then turned her gaze towards me, her eyes filled with remorse. I'm so sorry, Zhao Zhao. We were supposed to arrive by 8, but I had a stomach ache along the way, and brother worried about me. Ignoring my protests, he took me to the hospital, which delayed us. As she spoke, a smile crept onto her face. I once had a fever when I was little and almost died. Ever since then, brother has had a phobia about me falling ill. He panics over the slightest hint of trouble, like a child, which is quite silly. My brother seemed flustered by her teasing, awkwardly scratching his head before turning to flick her forehead playfully. Come on, how can you mock your own brother like that? The girl covered her mouth, laughing like a mischievous kitten. My brother's gaze was successfully diverted, and when he returned to reality, he cast a shy glance in my direction. He then affectionately took the girl's hand, introducing her. Zhao Zhao, this is Shishi, our sister. Shishi has been through a lot since she has been with me. She has suffered greatly, unlike you, who have enjoyed a stable life all these years. You must be kind to her. Sister? I stared blankly at Lu Shishi, scrutinizing her features. Our parents had only given birth to my brother and me. There had been no other children. Yet, how could she possibly be our sister? Perhaps sensing the confusion in my eyes, my brother gently explained, Shishi is my adopted sister. I met her a month after you entered the orphanage. Her gambling father had nearly beaten her to death. When I saw her, I thought of you. He left the latter part of his thought unspoken, yet I understood the implication. Seeing Lu Shi, she reminded my brother of me, and after sending me away just a month prior, he permitted another sister to stay by his side, refusing to part with her. If that was the case, if he could have a sister by his side, then why had he not come to take me back? I yearned to question him, to express my outrage, but the sight of his blissful, indulgent smile silenced me. I forced a stiff smile. That's wonderful, brother. I'm glad you have someone to accompany you. When it came time to board the car, Lu Shishi eagerly pulled my brother along, claiming the back seat. I intended to follow, but the driver swiftly closed the back door before I could. He regarded me with a firm demeanor, as if he were upholding some sort of justice. Miss Zhao, please take the front seat. Miss Shishi is not accustomed to having anyone else in the back with her, and the sir. I was taken aback, instinctively searching for my brother's silhouette, but all I could see was the opaque black window, isolating me from the world outside. I cast my gaze downward, my steps shifting direction, and softly murmured my thanks. Thank you. The driver glanced at me, seemingly surprised, and as he turned to leave, he said, just call me Uncle Zhang. I've watched Shishi grow up. She has always called me that, and I've grown accustomed to it. We've seen Shishi endure much hardship, and it pains us to witness her suffering, for she should never have had to bear such burdens. I grasped the undertone of his words. Although I was my brother's biological sister, he had been the one to care for Shishi all along, and naturally, he would not want an outsider like me encroaching upon their bond. The suffering Shishi had endured was born for my sake, and thus I ought to feel gratitude. Dismissing any negative thoughts, my brother intended to throw a welcome banquet for me, yet Shishi's enthusiasm had waned considerably in the days leading up to it. That afternoon, following online tutorials, I clumsily attempted to bake a strawberry cream cake, failing several times before finally succeeding. It was my favorite treat, and my brother had mentioned that Shishi shared many similarities with me, so surely she would enjoy sweet cake as well. I wished to comfort her, to assure her that I would not be able to stay with my brother for long. Previously, I had feared my brother would be heartbroken and lonely without me, which was why I had fought to survive. Now, with her companionship, I felt a sense of relief. I have simply, after such a prolonged absence, yearned to see my brother again. I do not wish to usurp anyone's place. One evening, I carefully carried the strawberry cake I had painstakingly prepared towards Lu Cici's room. The housekeeper had arranged a guest room for me on the ground floor, as both my brother and Cici resided on the second floor. She explained that the second floor was a domain reserved solely for them, off-limits to outsiders. Hence, she had customarily prepared accommodations for me on the first floor. I thought it was nothing to be concerned about, for after all, I had not seen my brother in many years. and it was only natural for him to be unaccustomed to my presence in his territory. Yet, in the stillness of the night, my thoughts began to wander uncontrollably, spiraling back to childhood memories. I recalled a time when my cousin, a year younger than I, visited our home and became enamored with my favorite toy. She clung to it, crying and refusing to let go, and my parents, unable to intervene, urged me to relinquish it to her because she was younger. I could not comprehend why she could act so willfully simply because she was a year my junior, while I was expected to concede without question. However, not wanting to place my parents in a difficult position, I reluctantly loosened my grip on the toy. It was then that my brother unexpectedly returned from school, snatching the toy from my cousin's grasp and handing it back to me. The adult's expression soured, yet amidst their admonitions, my brother turned and discreetly winked at me, signaling that I need not worry. In the gentle breezes of spring, my brother would share with me the wish tree he had planted with his own hands. During the summer cicada song, he would place a birthday crown atop my head, proclaiming that his birthday wish was to fulfill my own. He was the best brother in the world, never imposing boundaries upon me. The study was warm and bright, filled with familiar yet foreign words. "All right, cheer up, or you'll turn into a little bitter melon." I halted in my tracks, peering through the slightly ajar door and catching sight of my brother with Lu Cici. He was bending down, soothing her with a guilty expression. "I know that hosting a welcome banquet for Zhao Zhao has inconvenienced you, but Zhao Zhao is still my sister, and I must introduce her to others. Before our separation, I promised to bring her back." The one being softly comforted displayed a brazenly petulant demeanor. "Zhao Zhao is your sister. Then what am I?" I understood that I had no right to feel envious. Yet recently, he had been preoccupied with her affairs, buying her clothes, accompanying her for breakfast, taking her to the amusement park. Before she returned, he would have done these things only with me. Lu Cici's expression was pitiable, her tone filled with grievance, prompting my brother to relent. I was aware that he had always been defenseless against those he allowed into his protective circle. It had once been me, and now it was Lu Cici. "All right. I suppose I can take you to the amusement park tomorrow. How many times have I taken you there already? Didn't you say last time that you had grown tired of those rides? That's different. Tomorrow, it will be just you and me. No one else is allowed." My brother could not suppress a laugh, reaching out to ruffle Lu Cici's hair. "All right, I understand, my little jealous one." Cream from the cake dripped from the top. As if weeping, I lowered my head, astonished. Can a cake also cry? Sounds from the study stirred me from my reverie, and instinctively, I turned to retreat, wishing to hide. Before I could escape, my brother's voice called out, "Zhao Zhao?" I froze, unable to take another step. Turning around, I managed to muster a smile. "Brother." I made a cake to share with Cici. His gaze shifted from my face to the cake I held. He instinctively frowned, his tone scolding. "Cici is allergic to strawberries. Have I not mentioned this numerous times? Strawberries are not permitted in this house." I stood there, dazed, the towering figure of my brother becoming increasingly blurred. If Zhao Zhao likes it, then I shall build her a strawberry house, filled with strawberries, just like in a fairy tale. Then, every day, she can have an endless supply of strawberries. The 9-year-old boy danced with delight, making a whimsical promise to his beloved sister. Yet 15 years had passed, and he remained the same, asserting, "Cici is allergic to strawberries. They are not allowed in the house." I lowered my head, feeling utterly embarrassed, not daring to let him see the moisture in my eyes. I don't know. "I'm sorry, brother. I'll eat the cake, don't worry. It won't go to waste." I reached out, taking a piece of cake with my bare hands and bringing it to my mouth. The sweet cream mingled with the tart strawberries, concocting the most bitter flavor in the world. Piece by piece, I stuffed my mouth, feeling nauseous, yet instinctively adopting the demeanor of a well-behaved child from the orphanage as I smiled at my brother. "Brother, I've eaten it all. Please don't be angry." Just as I was about to shove another piece into my mouth, someone forcefully knocked the cake from my hand, causing my knuckles to sting. The familiar scene etched itself painfully into my memory, triggering my self-defense mechanism. I instinctively curled up, kneeling on the ground, pleading, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Please don't hit me. I beg you, spare me." "Zhao Zhao, calm down. What's wrong?" My muddled thoughts were jolted back to reality, and I realized that the anticipated pain had not come. My emotions began to disentangle from the overwhelming fear. My face was smeared with tears and snot, sticky and disheveled. White cream mixed with red strawberry juice, a pitiful sight, still kneeling in a posture of submission. Not far away, Lu Cece stood at the study door, her eyes a mixture of surprise and terror. The warm yellow light illuminated her, making her appear clean and beautiful, resembling a little princess from a castle. A wave of unprecedented self-consciousness washed over me, and I pushed away from the person who was holding me, stumbling away. My brother's voice called out behind me, but I dared not look back. In my ears, I could almost hear my brother's youthful voice. My sister. I will raise her to be the most beautiful and happiest little princess in the world. The words my brother once used to console me had now become a reality. After 15 years, he had taken excellent care of Lu Cece. I hid in my room, the lights off. Enveloped in darkness akin to the basement where I was often confined, a familiar feeling that inexplicably granted me an unprecedented sense of security. My wrists, raw and bloodied from biting, were devoid of any pain, my mind consumed by the recent events. Would my brother be disappointed if he knew? Would he despise me? Would he abandon me once more, as he had done a decade ago, ignoring my existence? The more I thought about it, the harder I bit down on my wrist. Scanning the dimly lit room, I caught sight of a fruit knife on the table, glinting in the faint moonlight. I had always feared that if I died, my brother would be heartbroken. Yet now, being a burden to him seemed far worse than the alternative. If I were gone, Lu Cece would no longer throw tantrums, and my brother would not have to be troubled by the others warning me on her behalf. The sharp blade pressed against my wrist, blood oozing forth. Suddenly, the door was kicked open, and the knife was wrenched from my grasp. Drops of blood fell to the ground, mingling with my brother's. My heart stopped, a sensation of suffocation washing over me. In the next moment, I hurriedly reached for the knife in my brother's hand, disbelief flooding my voice. Brother, you're hurt. Let me see. Unfortunately, the knife was gripped tighter. No matter how I struggled, I could not retrieve it. Tears streamed down my face in desperation. Yet when I looked up, I was met with my brother's frigid expression, my body freezing in place. Li Yunzhao, you've grown bold enough to harm yourself, have you? The familiar phrasing momentarily left me in a state of disorientation. At the tender age of 6, I displayed a mischievous streak that resulted in the unfortunate breaking of my front tooth. The doctor sternly advised me to refrain from indulging in sweets during my recovery. Yet, my insatiable craving led me to secretly devour 2 pieces of white rabbit candy during the day, and by nightfall, I was writhing in agony from a throbbing toothache. Crying inconsolably, my parents had conveniently gone out, leaving my brother and me alone at home. He enveloped me in his arms, torn between profound concern and frustration, his expression cold as he confronted me. Li Yunzhao, have you developed quite the audacity to sneak candy behind my back? As my wrist was gently grasped, my thoughts were jolted back to reality, and with a resounding thud, the knife was tossed aside. My brother summoned the first aid kit, silently tending to my injury. I yearned to smile as I usually did, to convey that the pain was inconsequential to me. However, inexplicably, my lips felt as though they were glued shut, rendering me unable to smile or utter a word. Crystal droplets of tears cascaded down, soaking the bandage into a dampened mass. In a moment of helplessness, I clumsily reassured him, Brother, please don't cry. I'm fine. It doesn't hurt, truly. In the next instant, I found myself cradled in his warm embrace. How could it not hurt? It must be excruciating. Zhao Zhao. I am the one at fault. I should have noticed your distress sooner. His words plunged me into an icy abyss. I forced a smile, defiantly retorting, What distress? What are you talking about, brother? Me perfectly fine. I dared not expose the decade I spent in the orphanage, nor did I wish to be labeled as abnormal. My brother ceased to speak, choosing instead to hold me silently, and gradually my rigid body began to relax. I closed my eyes, savoring that fleeting moment of warmth, wishing for a few more days to linger in this bliss. I thought, before departing, I must bid farewell properly. And what about the orphanage? My brother is now so capable. Surely he can ensure that the head of the orphanage receives the punishment they deserve. I may have left, but other children continued to suffer. I wished for those innocent little ones to find a bit of happiness, to experience joy, and not to endure the same misery I did. With hope in my heart, I began to speak. Brother, actually before I could finish, The panicked voice of the nanny echoed from the doorway. "Young master, miss, she has been frightened. She seems to have a slight fever and has fallen into a nightmare." Without waiting for her to elaborate, my brother sprang up, causing the first aid kit to topple over, scattering its contents across the floor. My unuttered words, much like the disarrayed items, fell into fragmented silence. At the threshold, my brother paused for a brief moment but did not turn back, hastily stating, "You should rest for now. I will be with you later. I need to check on she. Her condition is urgent." I gazed at his retreating figure, lost in a daze, as memories of a forsaken rainy night a decade ago flooded back. I had once heard that once a crack forms, it becomes irreparable. Once a lie begins, it knows no end. Thus, at the age of 7, my brother left me with a fleeting glimpse of his back, a prelude to a series of shadows that would follow. Before I turned 7, he would never allow himself to leave my side, always ensuring I was within his sight. Until then, he had never left me with a mere silhouette. He was forever the doting figure, watching over me as I frolicked ahead, or as I clung to his back, chattering away about the myriad amusing tales of my day. My brother departed, but the nanny remained. She turned to me and said, "Miss, she used to hide alongside the young master when they were children." The young master's business flourished rapidly, and Miss she soon became a target. On her 12th birthday, she was kidnapped, and the abductors threatened the young master to abandon the project he was negotiating in exchange for her release. The young master, gritting his teeth, refused. By the time Miss she was rescued, she had a fever of 40 degrees and kept calling for her brother. Since then, she has been haunted by nightmares. Miss she bore such torment, yet the very next day, the young master used half of the money he earned from closing the deal to donate to the orphanage you reside in, merely to spare you some hardship. The kidnappers had taken the young master's biological sister, unaware that she was living in comfort at the orphanage. It was a pity for Miss she, who bore the brunt of misfortune, only to have her affection divided by an outsider. My heart ached for her. I lowered my head, beginning to reminisce about my 12th birthday.
What was I doing then?
Oh, I recalled. The stern headmaster had exceptionally given me a piece of candy, claiming it was a birthday gift. Though I was puzzled by the sudden generosity, I was overjoyed. For prior to that moment, I had endured 3 days and nights of hunger, and had it not been for a bit of stolen water, I might have perished. I could not die. If I did, my brother would be left without kin in this world. When the time came for him to fetch Xiao Zhao, and he could not find me, how heartbroken he would be. Though my brother appeared strong on the surface, he was, in truth, a soft-hearted soul, and I had witnessed him shed tears on multiple occasions. I had been mistreated by a cruel nanny during my childhood, and upon discovering this, my brother had erupted with fury, driving her away and attending to my bruises. In an effort to spare him further distress, I had reassured him that I wasn't hurt, though he remained silent, lips pressed tightly together. Yet that night, I awoke in a haze to find him weeping at my bedside. Thus, when faced with the life-saving piece of candy, I treasured it immensely. Terrified of being attacked by others, I hastily shoved it into my mouth without even unwrapping it properly. Shortly thereafter, I began to feel disoriented, my body growing weak, and I only recalled being carried and laid upon a cold, hard surface, hands roaming inappropriately over my body. This could not be happening. My brother had warned me against letting anyone undress me or touch me inappropriately. I nearly bit my tongue in my desperation to regain composure, and seizing the opportunity, I clamped down on the thigh of my assailant, scrambling away while he wailed in agony, and fled the room in terror. I ran, frightened and disoriented, desperately seeking my brother, but where was he? I did not know. Eventually, I collapsed on the road, only to be mercilessly beaten by the approaching headmaster. Confined to the basement, my back brutally lacerated, leaving scars that remain to this day. Infection set in, and the breath I exhaled felt like scalding steam. I truly believed I would perish in that basement. To my astonishment, the following day, the headmaster, quite uncharacteristically, summoned a doctor to treat my illness, barely preserving my life. However, from that moment onward, my health deteriorated completely. My mind oscillated between clarity and confusion, and I was plagued by constant ailments. As I endured the pain, I became numb to it. Listening to the nanny's narrative, the realization struck me. The malevolent headmaster had not treated me out of any moral awakening akin to the villains in my brother's fairy tales, nor out of fear of the trouble my death might cause him. It was merely for his own tangible benefit. I share this not to elicit sympathy, but to inform you that your stable happiness comes at the cost of Miss Shishi's life. Thus, you are unqualified to contest it. The young master's current kindness towards you stems only from guilt. Once this period passes, he will recognize that Miss Shishi is the sister he should truly cherish. With my head bowed, I was at a loss for words, ultimately managing to utter countless apologies. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Miss, she suffered so much for me. Since I now understood Miss Shishi's pain, I resolved to remain invisible, refraining from coveting what does not belong to me. The nanny departed, and I stared at my well-bandaged wrist, lost in thought. The love of my brother, once easily attainable, now seemed a distant fantasy. Was I coveting something that belonged to another? My mind once again becomes muddled, and in this haze, I see my 9-year-old brother, smiling as he gently pats my head. Silly Zhao Zhao, what are you daydreaming about? My brother will always be my brother, and no one can take him away from me. With a smile, I reach out to embrace the void, calling out to him, Brother, you've come to see Zhao Zhao again. That night, I slept particularly soundly, with my brother as the 9-year-old boy and I as the 7-year-old Zhao Zhao. At 7, Zhao Zhao does not covet Lu Cici's brother nor yearn for what belongs to others. Lu Cici's illness has been recurring, and thus the banquet intended for me has been postponed time and again. My brother always gazes at me with guilt, saying, Zhao Zhao, let us wait a little longer. Cici cannot be stimulated right now. I obediently nod and understand. It's all right, brother, I know. Cici's health is the priority. Lu Cici has been ill for over a month, and only a few days before her birthday did she finally begin to recover. Consequently, the welcome banquet that was meant for me transformed into Lu Cici's birthday celebration. My brother then said, Zhao Zhao, after all, this is Cici's birthday. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to introduce you just yet. Let us wait a little longer, and I will introduce you to those around us. I did not wish to burden my brother. I smiled and pretended to be indifferent, saying, It's fine, brother. Just being able to come and pick Zhao Zhao up makes me very happy. As for the banquet, let us not hold it. It wouldn't be fair to Cici. After all, she has suffered alongside you for so many years. My brother's expression visibly relaxed, and he reached out to stroke my head. His eyes filled with tenderness. Yes, Cici is different from you. I have not been able to provide her with a stable and happy environment. Being with me has burdened her. I lowered my head, a sourness surging to my eyes, almost bringing me to tears. I still cannot comprehend why my brother can take loose Cici with him, but not me. At the very least, being with him would spare me the daily beatings. The necessity of washing clothes in icy water during the harsh winter, causing my hands to fester and ooze, or wearing heavy cotton clothes in the sweltering summer. Being driven to the streets like a senile beggar, losing all dignity and pride, subjected to the scrutiny of others. Everyone speaks of how Li Yunzhao has lived a stable life for 10 years, while pitying the pampered Lu Cici during her kidnapping. Perhaps, as the director said, my life is deemed worthless, and hence my suffering cannot be deemed as such. I recall my 16th birthday when the director, in high spirits, returned home inebriated, refraining from lashing out at me. Instead, he hummed a tune, gazing at me with an unfathomable expression and speaking words I could not comprehend. How different our fates are. We are both sisters. One is a cherished daughter of wealth, the pride of the castle, while the other is a timid mouse, unfit for the light. A life deemed worthless and subject to scorn. At that moment, my body trembled violently, fearing another whipping, leaving no room for contemplation of the director's words. Observing my quaking form, he laughed heartily, suddenly interested in conversation, pulling out a photo from his phone to show me. In the photo, a girl dressed in a princess gown beams with radiant joy, glowing from head to toe. Beside her stands a towering 14-tiered cake, adorned with cream and fruit, enticingly sweet. The girl gazes upwards, her eyes filled with longing, as someone bends down to place a birthday crown upon her head. Though the person's face remains hidden from the camera, the photo is lavish, a display of wealth, filled with an affection I can only dream of. It feels as if a mere glance could sear my soul. Yet, even as I risk being burned, My gaze remains fixed on the figure adorning the girl with the crown. I think to myself, the little girl must be incredibly happy, but it's all right. I have my brother. If he is with me, he can offer me more than those in the photograph. He would grant his birthday wish to Zhao Zhao, allowing me to celebrate twice a year. Thus I do not envy her. As I stare blankly at the photo, memories of my brother flood my mind, and I cannot help but smile. The director's eyes brim with mockery. Perhaps it is merely my imagination, but I sense a fleeting glimpse of pity. He tosses a piece of bone from his plate to me, and in my clumsiness, I fumble to catch it, eventually resorting to crawling on the ground to eat it. My awkward posture drawing laughter from the director. Indeed, how different it is. What I once failed to understand is now crystal clear. I lift my gaze towards my brother, who eagerly rushes to share the good news with Lu Sisi, my eyes once again clouded with tears. It truly is different. Can my brother still be Zhao Zhao's brother? Upon reflection, perhaps it is better this way. I no longer care. If I do not care, then when I die, my brother will not be saddened. My brother no longer has only Zhao Zhao as his sister, yet Zhao Zhao is only her brother. My brother is a crybaby, and I always remember this. Regardless of the circumstances, I still do not wish for him to be sad. When I once again could not restrain myself and cut my wrist, my brother slapped me hard across the face. Li Yun Zhao, what on earth do you want? My brother's hands trembled, his eyes reddened, a mix of indifference and scrutiny in his gaze, his expression as if he were ready to devour me. Fear gripped me, causing me to tremble, and I disregarded my wounded wrist, desperately reaching out to embrace him. Brother, please don't look at Zhao Zhao like that. I beg you,
don't look at me that way.
It doesn't matter if others call me a monster, a fool, or a worthless being, but brother, you are my most beloved brother. You must not look at me with disdain. You promised that I am your favorite sister. Trembling, I clung to my brother's waist. He did not pull away, but neither did he embrace me as he did in our childhood. Thus, I trembled in fear, tears streaming uncontrollably, even beginning to gag from nausea. I did not want to, brother. I truly did not want to, but I could not control myself. I simply could not. Perhaps my cries were so heartrending that my brother finally recalled our past, remembered that I am also his sister. In the end, he embraced me, his voice choked and hoarse. If you really leave, what am I supposed to do? My brother's voice shattered, barely holding itself together. Zhao Zhao, can you truly bear to leave your brother alone in this world? He has labored for so many years, finally clearing all his enemies, finally able to bring you back without worry. Please be good and don't make your brother anxious, all right? Where has he gone wrong? Just tell me. Don't punish him by hurting yourself, all right? Zhao Zhao, your brother cannot be without you. You are his only family left in this world. I beg you, don't leave your brother all alone, okay? Your brother also fears. My brother is a crybaby. Whenever he cries, my heart softens. So, even though I feel distressed, even though I yearn for death and release at every moment, I still relent. Perhaps the concept of karma, as spoken of by Buddhism, truly exists. In our childhood, my brother always helplessly acquiesced to me, but as we grew up, it has become I who yields to him. Thus, I agreed. Brother, I want to go die. I will strive to live on. I want to leave you alone. In the end, Lu Sisi's birthday banquet was never held. Instead, it became my welcome banquet. My brother linked his arm through mine, smiling as he introduced me to his close friends one by one. However, his friends did not welcome me. As soon as he stepped away, their expressions changed dramatically. Lu Sisi sat in the corner, her eyes red as if she had been crying, being comforted in the embrace of a vibrant sister. She called out darling repeatedly, coaxing and charming, evoking a sense of envy within me. Apart from my brother, no one had ever shown me such patience over the past decade, and I dared not display my petulance like Lu Sisi. I would not receive comfort, sweet treats, or warm embraces. Instead, I was met with scorn, physical assaults, and unrestrained humiliation. Lu Sisi, having been indulged, rose to mingle with the gathering, resembling a proud and resplendent phoenix, thriving amidst the opulence of the soiree. Before the age of 7, I too had been the most cherished little princess at such events. However, post-7, I had been relegated to the status of a worthless girl in the eyes of the director. Clutching the hem of my gown, I felt like an ugly duckling who had unwittingly wandered into a flock of swans, my timid demeanor and shrinking posture starkly contrasting with the extravagant surroundings. Someone obstructed my view, and when I looked up, I recognized Zhou Yan, a good friend of my brother's whom he had introduced earlier. He gazed at me with derision, seemingly incredulous that the usually astute Li Yunjia could be so easily deceived by a young girl's underhanded tactics. His words incited laughter among those around us. They were all resplendent in fine garments, exuding an air of confidence and pride, embodying a world entirely separate from mine. Yet, in that moment, they united in their disdain, rallying to condemn me, the villain who dared to disrupt Lu Cici's relationships. In the orchestrated chaos, I was jostled and stumbled back a few steps. I was not Li Yunjia. No one here would feel pity for me if I feigned vulnerability. If you truly had a kind heart, where were you when Cici was kidnapped? Where were you when she was harmed? To reap the benefits and then play the victim is akin to a prostitute establishing a facade of virtue. In my days, I seemed to be transported back to the times I was bullied by the mean children at the orphanage. Shaking my head, I felt lost and helpless. No. I didn't mean it, I'm sorry. I didn't intend for Cici to bear those burdens for me. Didn't intend, you say? Mere words hold no weight. You must prove your intentions through actions. The world around me buzzed, my vision blurred with flickering lights, as I stood in this surreal realm, observing the elegantly adorned young ladies and gentlemen mockingly scrutinizing my pitiful display. My throat felt parched and hoarse, my already frail mind failing to think clearly. I instinctively asked, "How do I prove it? See that fountain over there?" We were all preoccupied, leaving poor Cici unattended, and she fell into the pool alone, nearly drowning. Why not jump in yourself and experience a fraction of what Cici endured? Following their gaze, I looked at the fountain, which was filled with sparkling ice cubes under the sweltering sun, emitting wisps of white mist, beautiful yet perilous. I averted my eyes, shaking my head softly. I can't do that. I'm not able to jump in. I had just promised my brother to fight for my survival. His tears had pained me deeply. My body was already at the brink of exhaustion, and even with meticulous care, I might not have much time left. Each illness only compounded my suffering, drawing me closer to the end. Even a gentle breeze after the rain could set off a fever. What then of plunging into ice-cold water? Moreover, if I truly did jump in, it would break my brother's heart, and I couldn't bear to see him in pain. He had already endured too much in his life. I wished for his happiness in the years to come. Thus I looked up and softly inquired, "Could we perhaps consider an alternative condition?" Zhou Yan's smirk widened, as if everything was unfolding according to his design. I knew well that a pampered young lady like her would never sully herself, but what could I do? I could no longer bear to witness our beloved Cici being bullied in this manner. In an instant, Zhou Yan surged towards me, his tone venomous. "Cao Cao has been hiding behind the scenes for far too long. It's about time you paid a price." My body was forcefully shoved, and before I could regain my balance, I was pushed again, plunging into the water with a resounding splash, glimmering like a shower of diamonds. In my hazy state, I was reminded of my 5th birthday when someone gifted me a day filled with stars. I had been captivated by the tale my brother told me from the Little Prince, and asked him if the Little Prince could see 14 sunsets a day. Couldn't he then see 44 starry nights? My brother affirmed, and I was filled with delight. I adored the stars, glistening against the dark canvas of the sky, illuminating the paths home for wandering souls. In that moment, I, still capable of whimsy, insisted on witnessing those 44 stars. The day before my 5th birthday, a companion my brother had brought secretly took me outside. Sunlight dappled through the treetops, revealing a kaleidoscope of colors that hung like crystal shards, ethereal and otherworldly. When my brother found out, he felt a twinge of jealousy. The surprise he had prepared was no longer a secret, and he took me to see a room filled with stars. The stars projected on the ceiling were drawn painstakingly by him, exquisite in their beauty. Yet for some inexplicable reason, I felt a fleeting moment where they paled in comparison to the crystal stars. So, who was it that gifted me this day of radiant stars? I recalled calling him Brother Zhou Yan. The expressionless figure standing by the fountain seemed to momentarily shatter. It appeared he reached out, but was abruptly shoved away, leaving me uncertain whether the flicker of emotion in his eyes was real or merely a figment of my muddled consciousness. "Cao Cao, are you all right? Don't scare your brother." A familiar voice echoed in my ears. I longed to open my eyes, to smile at him, to assure him I was fine. I wished to convey that he need not worry. I was accustomed to such situations and merely needed to rest for a while, akin to my time in the orphanage, where a brief slumber would restore me. Yet I suddenly recalled, did my brother know to wake me with a willow branch? What if he didn't tea? And I slept too long, causing him to worry? Perhaps I had hit my head against the fountain wall. The buzzing in my ears grew louder, drowning out all sound, overwhelming me with dizziness. I had no time to struggle and inform my brother of my method for waking up early before I succumbed entirely to unconsciousness. Chow chow, chow chow. I heard calls as I opened my eyes, greeted by a face both strange and familiar. 7-year-old Zhou Yan was small and thin, appearing even younger than I. Relieved to have awakened me, the little boy's worried expression faded, and he reached out to pat my head, adopting a fierce demeanor. Did you have a nightmare?
Who bullied you?
I'll get back at them for you. I remained perplexed until the icy sensation on my face drew my attention. I touched it and realized it was tears. The scene before me was both familiar and foreign, after considerable effort to recall. I remembered having recently bumped my front teeth and cried from the pain. I scrutinized Zhou Yan, noticing the bruises and marks on his exposed skin, evidently bearing the aftermath of yet another beating. Before my thoughts could catch up, my pudgy little hand reached out. My voice tinged with a nasal whimper. Did they hurt you again? I'll take you to find my brother. He is very capable and will surely teach them a lesson. Zhou Yan waved his hand dismissively, yet his eyes were icy. Don't trouble Brother Yunjia.
I'm used to it.
We'll wait. What would happen later? Zhou Yan did not say. In the next moment, he blinked his large, sorrowful eyes and pitifully pleaded for my help. You need to tend to my wounds. It hurts so much. The soft, innocent Zhou Yan before me contrasted sharply with the indifferent Zhou Yan from the banquet, continuously alternating before my eyes. No wonder I felt an inexplicable familiarity upon seeing Zhou Yan. Indeed, he is the Zhou Yan brother I cherish second most in my childhood. Alas, like my own brother, Zhou Yan now belongs to the past, to the innocent days of my youth. Growing up, they have become nothing more than Lu Cici's brothers, and they will no longer rally to my side at the slightest hint of my sorrow. In front of me, Zhou Yan appeared anxious, hurriedly wiping away my tears. There, do not cry, do not cry. I truly feel no pain. I was merely teasing you, my dear ancestor.
Please stop crying.
The more he sought to comfort me, the more my tears threatened to overflow. Such is the nature of humanity. When one is engulfed in sorrow, they often lapse into silence, feigning nonchalance while attempting to mask their emotions, to deceive the world, to convince themselves that everything is fine and that they are merely being overly sensitive. Yet, when someone who genuinely cares inquires, what is wrong? The floodgates of tears burst open, unstoppable, as if a dam had broken, compelling one to cry until every ounce of anguish is released. Zhou Yan's expression of urgency gradually faded, and a wave of trepidation washed over me, prompting me to instinctively reach out. It felt as though grasping the 7-year-old Zhou Yan would allow me to capture those beautiful, yet fleeting moments of the past. Regrettably, the more beautiful a thing is, the more it seems destined for destruction. When I awoke again, I found myself confronted by the cold and unfamiliar reality. I lay on a pristine hospital bed, not the filthy, damp basement I had come from. It took me a moment to realize that my brother had come to retrieve me, meaning I would no longer face beatings and insults. I turned my head gently to the side and caught sight of my brother, slumped at the edge of the bed, his eyes shadowed and his face weary. My heart ached. My brother had already endured so much hardship, and now I had only added to his troubles. The slightest noise stirred him from his slumber, and upon seeing my eyes open, his face lit with joy as he pressed the call button for the doctor. The more the doctor examined me, the deeper his frown became, but my brother remained fixated on me, oblivious to the doctor's demeanor. A knot tightened in my chest, fearing the doctor might utter something that would wound my brother's heart. Just as I was about to speak and shift the topic, Lu Cici's voice rang out from the doorway. Brother, I have already contacted the orphanage. When shall we send Sister Zhao Zhao back? The words lodged in my throat, my nails digging into my palms as a chill enveloped me, leaving me trembling. My brother intended to send me back to that hellish orphanage? I reached out, yanking the 4 needle from my hand, and with bare feet, I leaped from the bed, intent on escaping. My movements were so swift that no one could intervene, except for my brother, who quickly blocked my path. Zhao Zhao, what are you doing? Did you not just promise to behave? His voice carried a tone of resignation and fatigue, as though I had become a burden to him. My brother had never spoken to me this way before. Perhaps I had mistaken him for someone else. The more I pondered this possibility, the more my spirit soared. Thus, I pushed past him, as if uncovering a monumental secret, excitedly declaring, I am not your sister. I am Li Yunzhao. My brother's name is Li Yunjia. You must have mistaken me for someone else. My brother stood frozen in place, confusion etched across his features as he gently asked, Zhao Zhao, what is wrong? Yet the truth I had just uncovered filled me with joy. Yes, I was supposed to return to the orphanage. My brother had promised to take me back. And what if he came to find me, and I was not there? In the midst of my thoughts, I attempted to move toward the exit, only to be firmly embraced by my brother. Zhao Zhao, what is wrong? Please do not frighten me any longer. I am truly exhausted. I gazed at the familiar yet unfamiliar figure before me, frowning in discontent as I tried to pry his arms from around me. Let me go. My brother said I should not be held by strangers. After much commotion, I ultimately found myself pressed back onto the hospital bed. The man who had just claimed to be my brother, along with a group of white coats, exited the room. I lay there, curiously observing a girl garbed like a princess. She looked at me, her expression complex, and implored, Sister Zhao Zhao, please do not trouble my brother any further. He has already endured enough. I frowned, correcting her. That is your brother, not mine. Zhao Zhao's brother is the best person in the world.
He would never speak to me that way.
A peculiar light seemed to flicker in Lu Cici's eyes as she regarded me, cautiously inquiring, Do you remember who I am? I furrowed my brows, pondering for a long while, yet I could not place her among those I knew, so I simply shook my head. She appeared anxious, gripping the hem of her dress tightly. Were you just wanting to return to the orphanage? I nodded eagerly, asking, Can you take me back? I am afraid my brother will be heartbroken if he cannot find me. She looked at me, a smile breaking through. All right, I will take you back. You can wait for your brother there. I felt she was truly a kind person, smiling gratefully at her. Thank you. When I see my brother, I will definitely bring him to thank you. Her voice grew hurried. No, please do not ever appear again. That would be the greatest gratitude you could offer me. The door swung open once more, and a doctor I had never seen before entered. Jiang Ting, why are you here? I thought you were abroad for a medical conference. When did you return? The doctor ignored the girl's words and approached to examine me. Fearful, I shrank back, and he paused momentarily, then spoke in a gentle tone. As if soothing a child, do not be afraid. I am just going to check your body. Your brother has told you to listen to the doctor, hasn't he? My eyes brightened. Indeed, my brother had said those words, so I obediently remained still. Jiang Ting, she seems to have amnesia. She remembers nothing. If we can just return her, then your brother will have only me as his sister again, and everything will return to how it was. Jiang Ting, you promised me.
Get out.
The doctor barked, his face cold. I hate you. Even you have started to show favoritism. The girl was taken aback, then shouted before covering her face and fleeing in tears. I looked worriedly at the doctor before me, my expression full of disapproval. The sister from just now was a good person. She promised to help me find my brother. You should not have yelled at her. In the doctor's eyes, I saw a complex emotion I could not decipher. He suddenly asked, Is the orphanage a good place? I considered this and shook my head. It is not good. One gets beaten, it hurts terribly, and one goes hungry. We must wash clothes and pretend to be beggars to get money. People tear our clothes. The doctor hastily interrupted. If it is so bad, why return? I looked at him in confusion, stating the obvious, because I must wait for my brother. The doctor fell silent, administering an injection, and soon my mind began to fog. In the haze, I vaguely heard him say, I am sorry. In the next life, I will toil for you. It was an emotional overload, resulting in self-deceptive amnesia. Having already sedated her, he assured me that after a nap, I would be fine. When I opened my eyes, shadows danced before me, yet I could not discern any faces. I called out in a panic, Brother. My right hand was grasped, and my vision gradually cleared, revealing my brother with tear-streaked eyes. He looked at me, his expression filled with caution, as if afraid to disturb something precious, softly asking, Zhao Zhao, who am I? Instinctively, I smiled and tightened my grip around his hand. You are my brother. Silly brother, playing a guessing game, forgetting to cover my eyes. Once more, I was enveloped in his embrace, my shoulder damp with his tears. It is all right now. It is all right. I was brought home by my brother, where I encountered Lucy, her face a portrait of sorrow. Instinctively, I wriggled free from my brother's grasp, fearing that someone might leap out and accuse me of having taken Lucy's brother from her. Brother, I protested. Didn't you say we should take Sister Cece to a familiar environment to help stabilize her emotions? My brother's body stiffened instantly, and he shouted in an almost reflexive manner, Be quiet. Lucy, taken aback by his outburst, stood frozen, her eyes welling up with tears in an instant. Realizing his overreaction, my brother stepped forward, attempting to comfort Lucy by patting her head.
I'm sorry, Kshikshi.
I reacted too strongly just now. It's just that, please. Let us not mention those 3 words again. Zhao Zhao is easily upset. This place was Zhao Zhao's home, and it would become the environment she would grow most accustomed to. She would never be sent away again. Upon hearing this, a sense of inexplicable joy blossomed within me, bringing with it a sense of security as if the fear of being abandoned once more had dissipated. However, seeing Lucy's tears and the pained expression on Aunt Lu, the caretaker, made my happiness feel grotesque, and I found myself unable to smile. Aunt Lu remarked that before my return, the household was filled with laughter and joy every day. Yet ever since I had been brought back, it had become a place of gloom. She inquired whose fault it was. I pondered it was mine. Yet what could I do? I truly did not wish to leave. It had been such a long time since I reunited with my brother. Thus, I bravely masked my awareness of the disdain surrounding me and cautiously tried to integrate myself into this family from which I had been absent for a decade. To perhaps make amends with Lucy, the following day my brother, under the pretense of attending a meeting, took her to the amusement park. I smiled, maintaining my obedient facade, pretending to be oblivious as I watched my brother and Lucy depart. To my surprise, shortly after their departure, someone arrived seeking me. It was the doctor who had treated me in the hospital, a good friend of my brother's, and he introduced himself as Jiang Ting. Being sought out by my brother's friend for the first time made me somewhat anxious. Yet I assumed he was here to deliver a warning much like others had, advising me against competing with Lucy for her brother's affection. I had grown accustomed to such negativity, so I lowered my head, bracing for his reprimand. The words I'm sorry already spinning in my mouth. Would you like to visit the amusement park? He asked. I'm sorry, we both replied almost in unison, momentarily stunned by our synchronized response. I questioned whether my ears had been damaged during my time at the orphanage. Otherwise, how could I have heard my brother's friend inviting me to join him in such a manner? I was familiar with others' malice, but faced with this unexpected kindness, I felt utterly flustered. Sensing my discomfort, Jiang Ting smiled and reached out to me, winking playfully. Don't you want to see the amusement park where your brother used to play? My eyes brightened. His words struck a chord within me. I longed to go, yet fear held me back. If I ventured alone, my brother would surely be upset. Jiang Ting winked again, chuckling. We'll make sure your brother doesn't find out.
Right?
Young people should go out and have fun. There's nothing wrong with being a little mischievous. My heart raced. My 9-year-old brother had once wiped my tears and told me, being a bit naughty, isn't so bad. Thus, I, along with my brother, became the wayward children our guardians would disapprove of, reclaiming candy that had been snatched away by the school bully. Although we ultimately faced reprimands, I felt that the sweetness of the candy we had seized was far more rewarding. I glanced at Jiang Ting, murmuring his name unconsciously. He paused, took my hand, and spoke gently. I am delighted to have such a wonderful sister like Zhao Zhao. A wave of emotion surged within me, and I felt the urge to cry. However, fearing embarrassment in front of my brother's friend, I fought back the tears. It's okay to cry if you want to, and laugh if you feel like it. Everyone has the right to express their emotions without restraint. Yet, I shook my head, my eyes reddening, resolutely maintaining, I won't cry. I am very happy. Could you tell me more about my brother's life over the years? Of course, he replied, but before that, I would like to see a smile from my little princess. A beautifully wrapped strawberry candy appeared before me. I blinked, instinctively trying to hide it away. My brother had said no strawberry-related items were allowed in the house due to Lu Cici's allergy. Jiang Ting fell silent for a moment, gazing at me intently. He seemed to want to smile but struggled to do so. Finally, he relented, his expression shifting into something I could not comprehend, his tone lightening. Then, if Zhao Zhao wishes to eat strawberries, just come to me. My home is free of such restrictions. I shook my head, expressing my gratitude. Thank you, but I no longer eat strawberries. As a child, I had believed strawberries were sweet, but upon tasting them again as an adult, I discovered their bitterness. A flavor so harsh it deterred me from trying again. Jiang Ting took me to the amusement park, where he bought a rabbit mask. I held it, turning it over in my hands, finding it irresistibly adorable. With this on, your brother won't recognize us, Jiang Ting said, reaching to help me secure the mask. Adjusting the straps, the cicadas chirped incessantly from the trees, the cacophony of voices surrounding us, and the dappled sunlight was blinding. Children laughed and played, reveling in their carefree youth. One often finds themselves unexpectedly reminded of memories in familiar scenes. Suddenly, a shout erupted from the crowd, and I felt myself being pulled into an embrace, followed by a muffled grunt from Jiang Ting. Realizing what had happened, I quickly broke free from his arms. Rushing to check on him, a large cup of strawberry-flavored milk tea, filled with various toppings, had splattered all over him. From a distance, mocking voices echoed. Does Cici know you brought another girl here? Jiang Ting's body seemed to stiffen momentarily before he replied, his voice darkening. My affairs are none of your concern. Shouldn't you be apologizing? The person on the other side, Zhou Yan, cast a grim look in my direction and scoffed. I slipped. I ignored Zhou Yan, instead reaching out to silently clean the stains from Jiang Ting's clothes with a napkin. I'm sorry for dragging you into this mess. The milk tea Zhou Yan had just thrown was clearly aimed at me. Pretending to care. Does Jiang Ting know you've harmed Cici for your own gain all these years? Finally, I lifted my gaze to Zhou Yan. Lu Cici harbors resentment towards me, and I have no objections. My brother's concern for her is warranted. But Zhou Yan, who do you think you are to repeatedly insult and bully me? You pushed me into the pool, colluded with others to isolate me, and even suggested sending me back to the orphanage. Do you really think such actions make you look good? Frankly, I find it disgusting, akin to being covered in bedbugs. Zhou Yan's expression darkened. Disbelief etched across his face as he glanced at Jiang Ting, and then back at me. You're blaming me for Jiang Ting's troubles?
Li Yunzhou,
What gives you the right to say that? This is all you're doing. I had no desire to delve into the meaning behind Zhou Yan's words. Perhaps we had once shared a close bond as friends, but now, everything had changed irreparably. I took Jiang Ting's hand, intent on leaving, the desire to enjoy the amusement park having vanished. Zhou Yan shouted from behind, Stop. Li Yunzhou, you can't follow him. Halfway through, I said goodbye to Jiang Ting, who seemed hesitant, finally asking me, Do you wish to go abroad? I was taken aback, a myriad of thoughts flashing through my mind, but ultimately, I simply shook my head. What is it that you desire, wish to play with, or wish to eat? You can tell me, and I will accompany you. I nodded with a smile, watching Jiang Ting depart. The familiar sensations of pain and nausea began to churn within my stomach, and I staggered to the restroom, retching painfully. The porcelain sink was stained with a glaring red, and I froze, lifting my gaze to silently regard my reflection in the mirror, my lips stained with blood. A noise came from outside the door, and in a flurry, I turned on the tap, washing away all evidence of my distress. Upon opening the door, Aunt Lu scrutinized me before saying, Young Master Zhou came looking for you just now. I told him you had gone to the amusement park with Jiang Ting. No wonder he had arrived so promptly. It seemed someone had tipped him off in advance. I turned to leave but was halted by a voice. Jiang Ting is the fiancé chosen for Miss Cici by the master. They have mutual affection. So it would be wise not to entertain any inappropriate thoughts. The master's birthday is approaching, and Miss Cici has won first prize in the provincial dance competition. Planning to surprise him on his birthday. And what about you? As she spoke, Aunt Lu's gaze fell upon the corner of the yard, where a bottle had been meticulously cleaned, her expression dripping with sarcasm. You aren't planning to use money from selling trash to buy him a gift, are you? That would truly be a cause for laughter. If people found out that the young master had a sister who scavenges for garbage, it would be a source of ridicule, perhaps even jeopardizing business contracts. She continued, You always claim to adore the young master and wish the best for him, yet your actions seem to only bring him trouble. If I were you, I would have left long ago to spare him from constant discomfort. My gaze fell upon the pile of sparkling bottles. Could it be? Would my departure truly benefit my brother? I lacked any means of livelihood. The orphanage's director never allowed me to attend school, let alone impart skills or knowledge. Scavenging was the sole legitimate means of earning I discovered at the age of 10. 3 cents for a bottle, 30 cents per kilogram for cardboard, 50 cents per kilogram for scrap metal. With sufficient earnings, I could avoid begging and the myriad of judgmental stares from others. Aunt Lou then took me to view the gifts my brother had received over the years. Priceless paintings, luxury watches, high-end cars, fine wines. So many that I was left dazed. The gifts from Miss Cece consisted of trophy after trophy. He was her pride and joy. A twinge of sadness stirred within me. Yet as my eyes swept over the array of trophies, the vivid red from the sink flashed in my mind, and I felt a sudden sense of relief. I was grateful that my brother had such an outstanding sister. When I left, he wouldn't be too heartbroken, for he would no longer be left with only me as his family. At the dinner table, my brother persistently served me dishes, exclaiming, "Eat more. You're getting thinner." Beside him, Lu Cece laughed playfully. Sister Chow Chow must be on a diet. A rough man like you could never understand. My brother frowned in disapproval. Diet? You eat even more than I do, yet I've never seen you lose weight. Brother, if you keep this up, I'm really going to be upset. Chow Chow, help me retort. Chow Chow, eat quickly. Ignore her, that spoiled girl. She is only getting more unruly because I indulge her. Watching their lively banter, a genuine smile spread across my face. How wonderful it was. They truly resembled siblings, while I felt like a mere guest in their midst. Overwhelmed by nausea, I consumed the dishes my brother offered, bite after bite. Yet once I returned to my room, I expelled everything, blood-streaked and all. Gazing into the trash filled with filth, the director's words echoed in my ears. You are inherently of lowly fate. Perhaps I had committed some heinous act in a past life to find myself in such dire straits. As a child, I longed for food but could never have it, often going to bed with an empty stomach. Now that I had grown, I still found myself unable to eat. Recently, Jiang Ting had been visiting me frequently, which led to more quarrels with Lu Cece. One afternoon, she locked herself in her room, crying for hours, and that evening, my brother sought me out.
Chow Chow.
Do you know Cece has feelings for Jiang Ting? She likes him, so he is off limits to me. Over the past few days, due to the situation with Jiang Ting, I had been warned repeatedly by my brother and the other siblings who dote on Lu Cece. Now my brother was inquiring, and I found myself at a loss for words. Chow Chow, Jiang Ting is not suitable for you. He is the fiancé I arranged for Cece. If you wish to date, I will find someone better for you. I scrutinized my brother's features, suddenly filled with determination. What if I want Jiang Ting? My brother's brow furrowed in an instant. Chow Chow, don't be willful. Not be willful? Yet I constantly witnessed Lu Cece and him acting impulsively, and in the end, my brother always laughed and acquiesced. Perhaps he had forgotten that in our childhood, his most frequently uttered words were, "Whatever Chow Chow desires, I will provide." Time, it seems, has a corrosive effect, eroding the most sincere of childhood affections until nothing remains. Brother, I'm tired. I want to sleep. Can we talk another day? Li Yunchao, do not evade the topic. Before you left, what did I say? Cece has endured too much suffering while following me. She has already made many concessions for you. You cannot use your status to continuously push her aside. Previously, you harmed yourself in your bid for her affection, disregarding your own body, and that has angered me greatly. Now you even wish to compete for Cece's fiancé. I looked at my brother, his face contorted with anger, yet I could not find my voice. Think carefully about it. At the door, my brother paused. Chow Chow, do not disappoint me. The door closed, and he did not turn back, leaving me to stifle the blood that seeped between my fingers, dripping onto the sheets. I stood up, intending to head to the restroom, but my head spun, and with a thud, I collapsed to the ground in a disheveled heap. Struggling, I crawled to the head of the bed and grabbed my phone to call. Once the line connected, I asked, "Can you come and pick me up?" The sky drizzled lightly as Jiang Ting wrapped me tightly in his arms and led me out of the room. In the living room, my brother's expression was frighteningly grim. He stepped forward to intercept us. Jiang Ting sidestepped, continuing onward. Chow Chow, doesn't he want to see you? Nonsense. Li Yunqiao is my sister. Does she not want to see me? Or does she wish to see you, a scoundrel who changes his affections at whim? Have you considered how Cece feels? Do you know she has been hiding in her room, crying all afternoon? Jiang Ting halted, and I felt a surge of panic, urgently tugging at his sleeve. Then, Jiang Ting resumed his stride. I'll explain everything to her later. My brother, unyielding, called for the door to be closed. I spoke in a hoarse voice, brother. Let us go. When we parted at 8 years old, you promised that in the future, no matter what I desired, you would comply. Now, I wish to leave. Outside. Silence reigned, and I felt a surge of fear, afraid that my clothing would be torn away, terrified that my brother would see me drenched in blood. In the midst of this standoff, a tearful voice broke through. Brother, let them go. It was Lu Cece. Suddenly, I felt a wave of guilt wash over me, feeling as though I were a thief. I had wronged Lu Cece before, and now I had added yet another transgression against her. Jiang Ting carried me away, intending to take me to the hospital, but I interjected. Can I stay with you for a few days? Rest assured, I will leave before I die. I want to bring you any misfortune.
You will not die.
I found it amusing indeed, and I laughed, asking him, do doctors also deceive themselves? If I were to die, no one would compete with Lu Cece for my brother's affection. She would be happy once more, receiving all the love she deserved. You harbor feelings for her. I can discern it. Upon my return, she often appeared despondent, and I am certain it pains you greatly. Jiang Ting fell silent, refraining from uttering a word. Thank you for not revealing the report to my brother. Jiang Ting's grip on the steering wheel tightened, his knuckles turning white. You are aware, yet you do not harbor resentment towards me? I shook my head, gazing at the increasingly heavy rain. I saw you at the orphanage that day. After being picked up by my brother for a few days, I stealthily visited the orphanage. I wished to capture some photographs to report the situation. Then I saw Jiang Ting, his eyes red, exerting force as he struck the director, who was crying out in distress. Subsequently, I witnessed the director being taken away by the police, and the orphanage received a substantial donation, appointing a commendable individual as the new director. Why did you not inform Li Yunjia about your mistreatment? I am on the brink of death. Let us spare my brother any further sorrow. Everyone claims I have enjoyed a decade of comfort, and if my brother were to uncover the truth, he would be unable to bear it. I turned to the person beside me, whose eyes were also red. Did you not think the same at first? Jiang Ting fell silent, merely accelerating the car slightly. I had been absent from my brother's 10 years, and before leaving, I always wished to gift him something. The money I scavenged was too filthy. Unfit for my brother, it lacked dignity. Therefore, I sought employment at a milk tea shop, hiding behind the thick plush costume, rendering my identity unknown. This way, I would not bring shame to my brother. In the sweltering September heat, the oppressive air made it difficult to breathe, and within the heavy costume, I sweated profusely. Few adults accepted flyers, but I encountered several children who kicked and hit me. Perhaps my body was genuinely too feeble after a few blows from the children. I struggled to remain upright. Afraid of harming them, I hastily turned aside, only to have my headpiece snagged and fall off, causing me to tumble at someone's feet. The wire from the costume scraped my cheek, breaking the skin, and droplets of blood fell onto a pair of white shoes. The memories of being beaten while begging surged back, and I froze for a moment, instinctively apologizing.
I'm sorry.
I did not mean to dirty your shoes. I will clean them. Please do not be angry. A familiar voice echoed in my ears. Zhao Zhao, what are you doing? I looked up, and in my blurred vision, I saw Lu Cece's beautiful face. At that moment, she remained a princess, the center of attention, while I knelt on the ground, attempting to clean her shoes. My gaze shifted to the right, locking onto my brother's complex and inscrutable expression. What? Did Jiang Ting fail to give you money? Have you stooped to shoe cleaning as a means of survival? It was humiliating, awkward, and I felt utterly exposed, the dizziness intensifying. Behind Lu Cece and my brother were many elegantly dressed individuals, his business associates, perhaps? I recalled Aunt Lu's words, afraid of bringing shame to my brother. Instinctively denying, I do not know what you're talking about. You must have mistaken me for someone else. Lu Cece stood beside him, clinging tightly to my brother's arm, her face a mask of heartfelt reproach. Zhao Zhao, how could you refuse to recognize your brother for the sake of a man? Do you have any idea how worried he has been about you these past few days? I am so disappointed in you. I merely averted their gazes, struggling to retrieve my fallen headpiece. I dared not meet my brother's eyes, his tone chillingly indifferent. Cece, let us go. Some people are simply not worth your anger. Upon hearing this, I did not respond. I merely stopped passers-by, asking, would you like some milk tea? We have a promotion on new products. My brother left, taking with him the group of unruly children who had just assaulted me. Handing out flyers, of course, earned me little, and after a day's work, I received a meager 60 yuan, which I deliberated over before purchasing some yarn. My brother has always been sensitive to the cold during winter. When the season arrived, he would remain indoors unless coaxed into building a snowman. Yet, I had seen numerous photographs of him and Lu Cece constructing snowmen in their new home. 10 years. 10 photographs. Aunt Lu remarked that my brother had willingly suggested building snowmen to bring joy to Lu Cece. Sometimes, when it did not snow in City A, they even took flights to the northeast for some snow fun. My brother once mentioned how cold it was to build a snowman. So, I decided to knit him a pair of gloves, ensuring he could warm his hands after playing in the snow with Lu Cece. Upon returning home, Jiang Ting still bore his silent demeanor. As I passed by him, he suddenly spoke. You really need not go to such lengths. If you desire money for gifts, I can provide it. I shook my head. It is different. Thus, Jiang Ting fell silent once more. My body grew increasingly frail, to the point where I could scarcely manage the stairs. Witnessing the vitality of life gradually fading away is undoubtedly distressing. Hence, Jiang Ting suggested, let us go to the hospital, shall we? I have contacted the best doctor. If you are willing to seek treatment, there remains hope. My movements froze, and I became at a loss, whispering a feeble plea. I cannot die so soon. Please let me stay here a while longer, may I? Jiang Ting stood rooted in place, his expression sorrowful, merely watching me in silence, his eyes filled with regret. Panic surged within me. I assure you, my will to live is strong. I have survived many near-death encounters at the hands of the director. Before I deliver the gift to my brother, I promise, I will not die. I will not let your home be tainted by the misfortune of death. Jiang Ting appeared overwhelmed, his voice inexplicably urgent, panting as he choked back tears. Stop talking, Zhao Zhao, please, just stop. I will not force you to leave. However, after delivering the gift, you must promise me to go to the hospital. Otherwise, I will inform Li Yunjia of your condition. I nodded vigorously. I promise. Just do not let my brother worry. In the days that followed, I began to suffer from sleepless nights, and thus several evenings I kept the light on, watching videos to learn knitting techniques. Jiang Ting quietly sat nearby, continuously flipping through literature I could not comprehend. At times, I would momentarily lose focus, imagining Jiang Ting as my brother, feeling as though my current life was the very scenario I had envisioned countless times on the brink of death. Yet the reality was that Jiang Ting's actions were for Lu Cece. I was indeed a despicable person, leveraging Jiang Ting's affection for Lu Cece to compel him to shelter me, an ill-fated individual. The day I completed the gloves, I felt an unusual surge of energy. Just as I had awaited my brother's arrival at the orphanage, I meticulously adorned myself, standing before the mirror. Alas, my face had grown gaunt, lacking the regal aura of Lu Cece. I secretly left the house without Jiang Ting's knowledge. How dare you return? Do you know what the master has become because of you? And you have the audacity to steal Cece's fiancé. You truly have no shame. If you are so wretched, why not just die? I gazed at Aunt Lu, my face pale, offering no rebuttal to her words, merely extending the knitted gloves. Could you please deliver this to my brother? Fearing she would refuse, I added, it was not purchased with money from scavenging. It is clean. Her hand struck mine forcefully, sending the gloves tumbling to the ground. I was momentarily stunned, hurriedly crouching to retrieve them when, in the next instant, my hand was firmly pinned down. Looking up, I met Lu Cece's gaze. It always seemed to be like this. From the very beginning, she stood elevated, while I remained in the dust. Li Yunjiao, why do you persist in haunting us? You have already wounded my brother's heart so deeply. How can you dare to return? If my brother is too soft-hearted, then I shall assist him. With that, she yanked me to my feet, and in the next moment, something slippery was thrust into my palm. With a piercing scream, the other parties had struck the coffee table, producing a crisp sound as the object in her hand clattered to the floor. It was then that I recognized it as a jade amulet for safety, one my brother had once sought for me during our childhood. Behind me, hurried footsteps approached, and someone forcefully collided with my shoulder. My brother gently scooped up Lu Cece and turned back to me, delivering a fierce warning. "You wait. I will settle the score with you later." I rushed forward a few paces, calling out to him, "Brother, don't leave." My brother halted his steps, and I added, "I brought you a birthday gift." This time, he finally turned around, but his eyes were filled with disdain. "Cece is in this state because of you, and you still have the nerve to mention gifts?" I attempted to explain, but my words felt feeble. "Brother, it wasn't Timmy who pushed her. It was her own doing. Do you remember when Cece was kidnapped as a child and nearly succumbed to a high fever? It was I who pleaded for the safety jade to bring her back from that state of terror. She has cherished that jade throughout her life. If not for you, would she have fallen? Zhao Zhao, you have become a stranger to me. I wish I had never had you as a sister." "Aunt Lu, throw the gift away. I cannot afford it." My brother departed, while Aunt Lu seemed eager to retrieve the glove that had fallen to the ground. I dashed over, rebelling for the first time, shoving her with all my strength. Aunt Lu gasped and fell to the ground, cursing under her breath, but I ignored her, picked up the glove, and stumbled out the door. The world was vast, and amidst the endless crowd, I found no place to call home. I had always believed that finding my brother meant finding home, yet no one had told me what to do if he no longer needed me. Wandering aimlessly, I ultimately found myself on the road in front of the orphanage. It was here at the age of 8 that my brother had left me, and 10 years had passed since then. Time had transformed everything. The familiar had become unfamiliar, and I could no longer find the brother who had once doted upon me. When Jiang Ting located me, I was drenched, resembling a drowned rat. He held an umbrella over me, shielding me from the rain. I looked up, dazed, and asked him, "Do you know where my brother is?" Suddenly, I was embraced. "Zhao Zhao, I'm here. I will be your brother." I frowned and pushed him away. Resisting, "I already have the best brother in the world. I don't need you." My shoulder felt warm and damp, unsure if it was rain or tears. When I awoke, I found myself in a hospital. Instinctively, I disliked this place, as if it held memories of something profoundly unpleasant. Outside, Jiang Ting's frantic voice echoed. "How could we not save him? What do you mean chemotherapy is futile? Aren't doctors supposed to snatch lives from the clutches of death? Hold a meeting. Gather everyone from the department. There must be a solution." Director Jiang. Had we treated him after the initial report, chemotherapy might have sustained him for a while, but now the condition has deteriorated completely. Even treatment would only prolong his suffering. "Please, spare the patient." A silence fell outside, followed by Jiang Ting's suppressed sobs. Yes. Why hadn't there been treatment from the start? Because he concealed the report, failing to inform Li Yunjia of the truth. He was compassionate toward Lu Cece, wishing for me to depart sooner. The ward door swung open, and our eyes met. His lips moved, forming the words, "I'm sorry." I didn't hold it against him. He had stated that I wouldn't live long, and I would only serve to burden others. "Is there anything else you wish to do?" I looked down, contemplated for a moment, and replied, "I want to see the sea." At the corner of the villa staircase hung a large photograph of Lu Cece embracing my brother amidst a sky full of seagulls, smiling sweetly. I, too, wanted to see that sea, the one my brother had gazed upon. Jiang Ting comforted me while I finished my 4-drip, and that very night, he purchased plane tickets taking me to the seaside. After disembarking, I switched on my phone, and a multitude of missed calls from my brother flooded in. After a moment's hesitation, I returned the call. It connected instantly, and my brother's voice was laced with urgency. "Li Yunjia, where have you gone? Why didn't you answer your phone? I went to Jiang Ting's place to find you, but they said you weren't there. I don't care where you are right now. Come back immediately." I remained silent for a while, reflecting before saying, "Brother, I'm not coming back. I won't return anymore." I continued, "Cece is exceptional, far more capable than I am. She is a wonderful sister, and you all must take care of her." My brother's voice seemed to tremble with anxiety. "What are you saying, Li Yunjia? Where are you? I'm coming to find you. Don't look for me anymore." "Brother, just like a decade ago, be a little heartless. Pretend I'm not your sister."
Li Yunjia, Zhao Zhao.
I hung up, and my brother quickly called again. I stared at the phone blankly for a few seconds, not ending the call, but silencing it instead. As life ticked away, I allowed myself to indulge in self-deception, pretending that my brother still loved and cared for me deeply. Jiang Ting remained silent for a moment, then took a few steps before speaking. Why not tell him? Otherwise, if you leave, he might go mad. He often mentions you. Yunja always says he has the most adorable and beautiful sister in the world. Initially, we thought he was referring to Cece, but he always clarified that it wasn't her. He has kept your information heavily guarded, even from us. So those business rivals of his have never discovered your existence. Each year, he allocates funds to the orphanage, donating substantial amounts, yet he lacks the courage to see you. I lowered my head, walking forward in silence. Just as Jiang Ting was about to speak again, I interrupted him with a smile. How much longer until we reach the seaside? Jiang Ting ceased his words, hastening his pace with the wheelchair. We'll be there shortly. The dawn by the seaside was breathtaking, a vibrant hue akin to life itself, fervent and radiant, spreading across the entire horizon. Regrettably, due to the season, I could not see the seagulls. Boats, speedboats, diving. I could not partake in any of these, merely indulging in a visual feast. As the sun descended, I beheld a sky ablaze with fiery clouds. How beautiful! The world is so splendid, and in the days to come, my brother will witness even more breathtaking sights. In the midst of Jiang Ting's terrified cries, I plunged into the sea. Someone was calling my name. Zhao Zhao, Zhao Zhao. One voice was youthful and innocent, while another was mature and sorrowful. The innocent voice was naive and charming, while the mature one was steeped in tragedy. I had two brothers, one who adored and cherished me, willing to pluck the stars from the heavens for me, and another who felt pity and guilt, yet always left me with his back turned. A foot deep in crimson surpasses the dust of the past. The old cannot compare to the new. The mature brother had a new sister, while the old sister must seek out her old brother. Dear elder brother, please don't be sorrowful for me. In the world beyond closed eyes, it is not a pitch-black void. Rather, it is the opposite. I see my desires and longings. Crybaby brother, truly, it has been a long time. Someone whispers softly in my ear. Welcome home, dearest Zhao Zhao.
The end.
Our parents have departed, and the architect of this tragic accident has not achieved their desired outcome. They suspect that what they seek lies within me and Zhao Zhao. The day after I narrowly escaped abduction, I bid farewell to Zhao Zhao, my sister. She was always fragile and petite, unable to bear the slightest pain. I shudder to think how helpless she would be if someone were to take her away. As I turned to leave, I heard Zhao Zhao's cries, biting her lip until it bled. I managed to refrain from turning back. I quickened my pace, unwilling to linger, fearing that my soft heart would cause her harm. I could endure suffering, but Zhao Zhao was different. She was my beloved sister, and I could never part with her. The orphanage to which I took her was one we had previously sponsored. I had reviewed the documentation and knew the director to be kind. Here, Zhao Zhao would surely receive excellent care. Upon discovering the truth about the orphanage, I found myself wishing fervently to return to that moment, to strangle my reckless self. Yet, at that time, it was far too late. My beloved sister, Chao Chao, lay there, barely clinging to life on her sickbed. I had never anticipated that the orphanage would change its director, nor could I have imagined that Chao Chao would endure a decade of torment in hellish struggles. In my frantic attempts to evade capture, I encountered Lu Cece, who bore a striking resemblance to Chao Chao in both age and appearance. A nefarious thought took root in my mind. As long as others mistook her for Chao Chao, I would no longer fear for Chao Chao's safety. Thus, I took Lu Cece under my wing, using the inheritance left by my parents to hide and submerge myself into obscurity. During this time, terrified of exposure, I never once visited Chao Chao, instead donating substantial amounts of money to various orphanages each year. I always believed that Chao Chao was living a fortunate life. Finally, the moment arrived when I could safely bring Chao Chao back home. My excitement was so overwhelming that I could not sleep a wink that night. Perhaps I was delirious. The next day, I found myself hearing strange voices in my head. Strategy? What did that mean? What was this notion that Lu Cece was the beloved protagonist, while Chao Chao was merely a vile supporting character? In a state of shock, my mind was forcibly inundated with a series of narratives. In these tales, Lu Cece was the pampered darling, while the returned Chow Chow was merely a foil, a gesture meant to highlight the main character's brilliance. Gradually, I would come to loathe Chow Chow and lean toward Lu Cece, becoming the celestial brother of the highly praised protagonist, Lu Cece. Chow Chow would fall hopelessly in love with the male lead, Jiang Ting, only to be ruthlessly manipulated, ultimately suffering a tragic fate at the hands of a debauched scoundrel. Even Zhou Yen, who had adored Chow Chow in childhood, would turn his affections toward Lu Cece, leading the charge against Chow Chow with a series of humiliating schemes. My rage boiled over, and I yearned to obliterate that insipid system. Yet, that insipid entity insisted that I pursue Lu Cece. I was acutely aware of my own moral shortcomings. I had provided Lu Cece with a life of luxury for a decade, allowing the world to perceive my affection for her. Consequently, all the vile schemes were directed toward Lu Cece. But I deemed this to be fair. To attain anything in life, one must always sacrifice something in return. I once inquired about Lu Cece's thoughts. Had she been unwilling, I could have easily hired another. This was a flicker of pity born from my affection for Chow Chow. Yet, she declined, unwilling to part with her opulent lifestyle, her eyes brimming with greed, all the while believing she concealed it well. Such a person could never compare to Chow Chow, who was worth far more than a mere strand of hair. What right did she have to be the protagonist? As for Jiang Ting, what manner of man was he? It was one thing to be blind to Lu Cece's faults, but how dare he reject Chow Chow and conspire against her? And Zhou Yen, whom I had detested since childhood for employing underhanded tactics to attract Chow Chow's attention, had the audacity to change his affections. Clearly, he had never been virtuous, and I did not regret my earlier machinations against him. Instinctively, I began to contemplate the means to eliminate Jiang Ting and Zhou Yen, seeking to address the problem at its roots. However, before I could devise a solution, Lu Cece suddenly proposed that we go together to retrieve Chow Chow. I frowned, my expression cold, eager to refuse immediately. Who was she to accompany me in fetching Chow Chow? Yet the next moment, a mechanical voice in my mind coldly announced, "Host resistance detected at excessive levels. System will now assume control of the body." A wave of dizziness washed over me, and in the next instant, I found myself trapped in darkness, forced to watch as my body displayed a repulsive smile toward Lu Cece, ultimately acquiescing to her request. Enveloped in darkness, I screamed, cursed, and even resorted to pleading. "Please, do not treat Chow Chow this way. It will only cause her sorrow." On our way, Lu Cece abruptly complained of a stomachache, insisting on going to the hospital. Panic surged within me. No, this could not be. We had promised to retrieve Chow Chow. How could we waste time? I even found myself kneeling, a level of humility I had never shown, not even when I had been caught and had my legs broken. Tears streamed down my face as I prayed fervently to any deity that might listen. "Please help us. Our suffering has been immense. I have already missed a decade of Chow Chow's life. We have finally found the chance to reunite. Why must we be denied?" But my pleas fell on deaf ears as despair enveloped me, watching the minutes tick away, missing the time we had agreed upon. In that moment, I contemplated ending it all alongside those loathsome entities. Yet in the next heartbeat I thought of Chow Chow. If I were to perish, what would become of her? She was so frail, so vulnerable. Without my protection, how could she survive? I closed my eyes, suppressing the violent thoughts that surged within me. When I finally laid eyes on Chow Chow, I experienced a fleeting moment of liberation from the system's control, rushing forward to embrace my sister, whom I had not seen in a decade. The deep-seated punishment of my soul caused my body to tremble uncontrollably, yet I stifled it, fearful of frightening Chow Chow. The system seemed taken aback, its electric warnings crackling in my mind. "Host, if you dare resist again, the vile supporting character Li Yinchao will hasten toward her demise." In that instant I even thought with a frenzy, perhaps it would be better to perish together with Chow Chow. But when she cried out for her brother, my resolve wavered. She had always possessed the uncanny ability to soften my heart, my beloved Chow Chow, my precious sister. I closed my eyes as my body was once again taken over, observing with a cold gaze as the system and Lu Cece played their games, neglecting Chow Chow. I had meticulously prepared a grand return ceremony for Chow Chow 3 years prior. I had been planning, dreaming, and anticipating. I could hardly wait for the world to recognize Chow Chow as my sister, a princess of noble birth. Yet the system feigned concern for Lu Cece. How dare it treat my Chow Chow, my fragile and innocent sister, in such a manner? Strawberry cake was being shoved into Lu Cece's mouth, while Chow Chow shrank back in fear, seemingly terrified beyond measure. What had transpired in my absence? I felt as though I might go mad, but the first thing I did upon breaking free was to embrace Chow Chow. The violent anger surged within me, desperately seeking an outlet. Something was amiss with Chow Chow. I instructed my men to investigate her past. When I kicked open the door and saw her bloodied wrists, my breath momentarily caught in my throat. My mind roared, and my actions trembled as I nearly lost control of my body. I should never have left her behind. I should have taken Chow Chow with me, through life and death together. Had I done so, she would not have quietly deteriorated in my absence. Lu Cece continued her machinations while the system guided my body away from Chow Chow. This time, I complied without resistance, leaving the system momentarily astonished. It was only when I nearly strangled Lu Cece that the system truly went mad, screaming in my mind as it unleashed the maximum punishment. Yet I laughed with delight. It seemed that even it could feel fear. If that were the case, why did it not care for my Chow Chow? My poor, unfortunate Chow Chow. Blood seeped from my mouth and nose, but I did not relent. My eyes reddened as I tightened my grip on Lu Cece's neck. I have always acknowledged that I am not a good person. In just a few short decades, my business has flourished to this extent, and my hands are stained with more blood than I can count. Lu Cece's life is no exception. Were it not for Chow Chow's existence, I might even have found myself on a wanted list. I curled up in agony, my vision awash in a crimson haze. The lifeless body of Lu Cece sprawled on the ground before me. Yet, despite the horror, I found myself unable to suppress a wild laughter, one that grew increasingly unhinged. The system cursed me, branding me a madman. Do you think this is the end, Li Yunza? Have you lost your mind? Every time you go insane, Li Yuncha suffers even more. I am curious to see just how far your madness can escalate. In the next instant, time rewound to the moment I first entered Lu Cece's room. When weakness creeps into a person, fear takes hold. Faced with a fate where even death offers no escape, I began to dread what might happen to Chow Chow if the system were to punish her in such a manner. She, who would cry at the slightest scrape in her childhood, would surely not withstand it. As long as you adhere to the storyline, there remains a chance for Li Yuncha's salvation. Once the narrative concludes, you can rescue her. I will assist you with items to evade detection, so cease your madness. Reversing time is a costly expenditure of points. During this period, you must not inflict even the slightest harm upon her. I assure you I won't. While I did not fully trust this entity, I required time, and thus, I could only acquiesce. I compromised as I watched the system, utilizing my body, repeatedly gravitate towards Lu Cece, inflicting harm upon Chow Chow time and again. At the banquet, when Zhou Yan pushed Chow Chow into the pool, I had someone beat him to near death. Had the system not intervened, he would not have seen the dawn of the following day. I understood the source of his resentment. He believed Chow Chow had betrayed him, nearly leading to his demise. But in truth, it was I, a cowardly and ineffectual individual, who clung to Chow Chow like a repulsive leech, unworthy of her affection. As Chow Chow once again cut her wrist, I could distinctly feel the system's fury surging in my mind. No need to apply force. The slap is merely for show. I have employed an item. Her wounds will not hurt, and bleeding will cease in a second. Do not lose your mind, my ancestor. I implore you, do not lose your mind. I had already discovered certain loopholes in the system, and armed with this knowledge, after eliminating Lu Cece and Jiang Ting several times, the system finally learned to behave. I embraced Chow Chow, comforting her as I wept, knowing she would soften. Just wait a moment longer. Once I obliterate that reckless entity in my mind, Chow Chow will no longer suffer. I resisted the meetings between Jiang Ting and Chow Chow. Though I believed she would not develop feelings for him, fear lingered within me. Jiang Ting was indeed shameless, openly enamored with Lu Cece while deliberately seducing Chow Chow. And I yearned to kill him. Chow Chow had lost considerable weight, her mental state deteriorating severely. My heart raced with anxiety. I felt that if this continued, I would lose her forever. The narrative, endure just a bit longer, and I shall be free. You will be liberated. Li Yuncha would not have become this way, but for your initial rebellion. which weakened her. When it came to Chow Chow, I dared not take a single risk. When Chow Chow called Jiang Ting to pick her up, I was tempted to eliminate Jiang Ting once more, but I could not, for Chow Chow expressed her desire to leave. I reconsidered. A brief departure might be beneficial. Once she was gone, I would no longer have to endure the system's torment. Thus, I dispatched someone to monitor Jiang Ting's every move, ready to report any discrepancies immediately. When Lu Cece orchestrated a slanderous act against Chow Chow, I truly wished to tear her apart. Just one last time, endure, brother, just a little longer. The system controlled my body, carrying Lu Cece away. As I contemplated the clandestine actions I had reported to the system, a thrill surged within me. Soon, those who harmed Chow Chow would face their demise. I never anticipated that Chow Chow would lie on a hospital bed, her life hanging in the balance. Just prior to this, her health checkup had shown no issues whatsoever. I even consulted a psychologist, masquerading as various individuals in Chow Chow's life to guide her. In my mind, the mechanical voice laughed mockingly, exuding disdain and arrogance. Li Yunze, do you truly believe you are formidable? Observe, I merely need to manipulate a little, and you will remain oblivious to all the tears Li Yunze has shed over the past decade, along with her cancer diagnosis. She is merely a narrative character, flattered by a few words, and you genuinely think yourself omnipotent. Fool, the mission is complete. I am leaving, and how could your actions matter? I grinned, chuckling. It could not escape. Lu Cece, Jiang Ting, Zhou Yan, the nanny, the driver, the orphanage director, every individual who had harmed Chow Chow would not evade their fate. In the inferno, cries of anguish and curses filled the air. In my mind, the system screamed. How could this be? The mission was accomplished. How could I not leave? Core damage 6589. Initiating destruction. Amidst the flames, I held Chow Chow tightly, lowering my head to press my icy, rigid face against hers, laughing silently.
Chow Chow.
Brother has avenged you. All who bullied you have met their reckoning. Ah, and brother too. I reached for the knife I had long prepared, pressing it against my wrist, slicing deeply. Blood met the tongues of fire, sizzling as it mixed into a crimson foam, vanishing without a trace. In a daze, I seemed to glimpse Chow Chow, my sister, no longer crying but smiling beautifully. I extended my hand, smiling as I reached for her. Chow Chow, sister. On July 15th, 2024. A fire broke out in an abandoned warehouse in a suburban area, claiming dozens of lives. Among the deceased were Li Yunze, the executive president of Yuncha Group, his adopted sister Lu Cece, Zhou Yan, the head of the Zhou family, and Jiang Ting, a genius in the medical field. 1/3 of Yuncha Group's assets were donated to charity. Another third established a scholarship for impoverished students in the name of Li Yunze. The remaining third would be awarded to anyone who offered a lamp for Li Yunche's afterlife, granting them 3,000 yuan from Yuncha Group. The news sent shockwaves through society, sparking widespread discussion. Yet, in the temple, lamps were lit, illuminating the path for the departed. I knew that Li Yunze cherished a sister dearly, but it was not Lu Cece. I had known Li Yunze for quite some time, witnessing his relentless pursuit of wealth, risking his life numerous times, almost losing it on several occasions. I asked him why he fought so hard when he had already achieved so much. He replied that he needed to bring someone back, that he required an absolutely safe environment. When he spoke those words, Lu Cece was nearby, her eyes glistening with tears, her face etched with disappointment. Thus, I began to feel pity for this girl, younger than I. She bore the brunt of the firepower meant for Li Yunze's enigmatic sister. Yet he had never truly seen her. His grand proclamations, lavish birthday parties, and staged photographs were merely efforts to establish Lu Cece as a target for the outside world. I admit, I developed a bias, beginning to maliciously speculate about that sheltered sister, enjoying her comfort. Therefore, when I saw that sister's medical report and uncovered her experiences in the orphanage, despite my shock, I instinctively chose to conceal the truth. Even when Li Yunche sent people to investigate, I expended considerable effort to obscure the facts. I thought that Li Yunze was already excessively partial to Li Yunche. If he were to learn of these details, there would be no refuge left for Cece. Moreover, I had reviewed her medical report and found little hope for recovery. Li Yunze placed immense importance on this sister, even more so than his own life. I could not fathom how he would react if he discovered this. I even suspected he might resort to actions as extreme as burial alongside her. Later, reality proved my suspicions correct. He was capable of even more madness. Yet at that moment, I clearly could not foresee the events that lay ahead. I felt a profound sense of shame for my despicable behavior, and in an effort to atone, I endeavored to treat Li Yunzhao with kindness. I had perceived her as a haughty and capricious individual, selfish and self-serving. Yet, to my surprise, she was far from that. She was fragile, easily bullied, and yearned for protection. Initially motivated by guilt, my heart became a tangled mess of emotions, and I found myself questioning the true nature of my affections for her. Li Yunza's demeanor began to shift in peculiar ways. Previously, he was always vocal about his affection for his sister, yet upon her return, he suddenly grew distant, inflicting emotional pain upon her. When I received a call from Zhao Zhao, I was both startled and elated, unable to comprehend the emotions swirling within me. However, upon witnessing Zhao Zhao in a state of near collapse, my heart filled with dread. As I carried her downstairs, I found myself blaming Li Yunza when he attempted to obstruct my way. Was he not the one who cared for Zhao Zhao? Did he not claim to love her the most? Why, then, did he repeatedly show favoritism, leaving her disappointed and alone in a room where she nearly succumbed to despair? When Li Yunza mentioned Lu Sisi, anxiety gripped me. Indeed, my initial intent had been to vindicate Lu Sisi. Yet now, I dared not reveal this truth to Zhao Zhao. In the car, Zhao Zhao spoke with remarkable calmness about my former ignoble intentions. I was filled with trepidation, rendered mute, unable to utter a word. Eventually, I mustered the courage to ask her, "Do you not harbor resentment towards me?" She shook her head, expressing gratitude, stating that otherwise, Li Yunza would be heartbroken. In that moment, I found myself grappling with jealousy towards Li Yunza. Despite his treatment of Zhao Zhao, her affection still lay with him, her brother. I even began to resent Li Yunza for his lack of thorough investigation, for what seemed to be his mediocrity. If only he had discovered earlier that I had tampered with the medical reports, or if he had prevented my foolishness, Zhao Zhao could have received treatment sooner, and I would not have been exposed in such an ugly light. I wished to take Zhao Zhao to the hospital, but she refused. In her final moments, she was not concerned with alleviating her own suffering, but rather focused on preparing a gift for Li Yunza. I secretly followed her, driving away a group of troublesome children. I offered her money, but she declined. Despite the injuries on her face, her eyes sparkled with vitality as she joyfully hopped about with 60 yuan. My heart ached. How could a mere 60 yuan bring her such joy? After all, Lu Sisi's possessions were valued in the thousands. I desired for Zhao Zhao to go to the hospital, but she implored me to let her stay a little longer, insisting that she would not bring me misfortune. My heart was heavy, making it difficult to breathe. I lacked the courage to continue listening and hurriedly fled. Yet, she promised me that once the gift was delivered, she would seek treatment. I never anticipated that Li Yunza would be so heartless as to discard Zhao Zhao's precious gift. Stealthily, I tucked away the gloves she had knitted. That evening, a frenzied Li Yunza assaulted me, intent on reclaiming the gloves. I spat blood, unwilling to yield, but the memory of Zhao Zhao's hopeful gaze as she crafted those gloves compelled me to relent, ultimately handing over the well-protected gloves to Li Yunza. Zhao Zhao's illness became untreatable. Initially, there was a slim chance of recovery, but that glimmer of hope was entirely extinguished by my vile actions. I wandered in a daze, even shunning the thought of facing Zhao Zhao. She expressed a desire to see the ocean, and I could not refuse her. After that trip, she never returned. When Li Yunza arrived, he was frantic, forbidding anyone from approaching. I cannot recall how I made it home, but upon reaching Zhao Zhao's usual bedroom, I discovered another pair of gloves beneath her pillow, accompanied by a note that read, "Thank you for allowing me to spend my final moments with you. We are even now." In that instant, the barriers shattered, and reality washed over me. My emotions surged forth, and tears flowed uncontrollably. We were far from even. It was I who, in my cowardice, had caused her to depart too soon, leaving her so young. I felt unwell. For how else could I explain my clandestine provision of illegal narcotics to Li Yunza? Flames of anguish seared through me, yet I stubbornly lifted my gaze towards the depths of despair. How dare Li Yunza act in such madness? Why could he not allow Zhao Zhao to depart in peace? Lu Cece seemed to be crying out for something, but I was too consumed by my thoughts to pay her any mind, laboriously crawling towards Li Yunze. Zhao Zhao had suffered enough in life. Why could she not rest peacefully in death? Li Yunze kicked me in the chest with such force that I coughed up blood. His eyes were red, guarding his treasure, demanding that I leave. I was frantic, reaching for the gloves concealed in my chest. And only when I confirmed they were unharmed did I breathe a sigh of relief. As I gazed at them, I could not help but weep, my tears falling and evaporating. I realized I had made grave mistakes, but alas, it was too late. I first met Zhao Zhao when I was 8 and she was 5, a cherubic little girl, kind-hearted and innocent. After we became acquainted, I intentionally revealed my scars from being beaten, and she, predictably, was heartbroken, dashing off to procure medicine for me. Before I could utter a word, she was already crying, holding my hand and sobbing, "Brother Zhou Yan, it doesn't hurt." My initial intent was to feign a few whimpers to elicit her sympathy, yet upon seeing her tear-streaked face, I found myself unable to continue the ruse and instead burst into laughter. The little one was bewildered, staring at me with tears still clinging to her cheeks. I reached out to wipe away her tears, turning the comfort back on her. "Do not cry. It truly does not hurt at all." I was not lying. The pain inflicted by the old and young alike at home was far more excruciating than this minor ailment. This trivial discomfort was nothing in comparison. However, the young lady was quite delicate. Even the slightest bump would send her into tears for ages. Naturally, she did not believe my reassurances, bowing her head and gently blowing on my wound, uttering absurd phrases. "Hoo-hoo, the pain flies away." I could not help but chuckle. How could there be such a silly, adorable person in our chaotic family? I confess, initially, I approached the young lady with ulterior motives. The Leaf family was formidable, and if I could win her favor, my standing within my own family would surely improve. I intended to cultivate our childhood bond while she was still innocent and unaware of the world, hoping that, in the future, our union would secure my position as the heir of the Zhou family. At first, this plan unfolded smoothly, with only her brother proving to be a formidable obstacle. Yet, as time passed, I realized I was in trouble. I had come to win the young lady's heart, not to offer myself as a sacrificial pawn. However, when she expressed a desire to see the stars, I, in a moment of folly, stole a diamond worth millions from my family's vault, shattering it into countless tiny stars to please her. Upon returning home, I was beaten within an inch of my life, and my situation at home worsened rather than improved. Yet, the mere thought of the little princess's smile brought me uncontainable joy. I thought to myself, I am doomed, but I welcome this fate willingly. I needed to devise a plan to deal with the swarm of bothersome flies at home. At the very least, I could not let the young lady suffer any indignities when she married into our family. On my birthday, I arranged to meet the young lady at our secret hideout. Just yesterday, I had gifted her a bracelet left to me by my mother, and she accepted it. I wish for her to wait a moment for me. I shall strive with greater fervor, endeavoring to seize control of the Zhou family at the earliest opportunity, to become more powerful, and to earn the recognition of her entire family. Promises and oaths echoed in my heart, yet ultimately, what awaited me was not the young lady, but rather my father's illegitimate son. He arrived with a throng of followers, and I faced a most brutal chastisement. The audacity of a toad dreaming of swan flesh. Did you truly believe that after a few playful encounters, the young lady would genuinely harbor affection for you? It was but a child's game for her, and yet you took it to heart. How laughable. How was I unaware of your penchant for seeking redemption? I gritted my teeth and foolishly attempted to resist them for the first time, only to have my arm broken and 2 teeth knocked out. I refused to believe their words. However, when Li Yunze appeared, I hesitated. The emerald bracelet was contemptuously tossed to the ground, shattering into several pieces upon striking the stones. I stood frozen, my body rigid, unable to move. Zhao Zhao had mentioned that the game of redemption had grown tiresome. The inferior goods should rightfully be returned to their owner. In that moment, I yearned to drag the young lady down with me into oblivion. Later, they moved away, and I was left in ignorance of their whereabouts. When I encountered Li Yunze again, I was no longer the same helpless dog that could be bullied. Eagerly, I sought to confront Li Yunzhao for retribution, yet she was not by Li Yunze's side. A wave of anxiety washed over me. He had always cherished his sister dearly. What circumstances could possibly lead him to leave her behind? Upon learning the situation from Lu Cece, I breathed a sigh of relief. It was well. I had feared the worst. I could certainly perceive Lu Cece as subtle maneuvers, yet it mattered not. I was willing to cooperate with her. After all, Li Yunzhao deserved it. Who could forget how she had treated me back then? At the banquet, after many years, seeing the young lady again made my body tremble uncontrollably. I could not discern whether it was more revulsion or excitement coursing through me. She did not recognize me at first. How could she? After having toyed with me so mercilessly, allowing me to live in hatred for so many years, effortlessly forget me? It was utterly unjust. Thus, I cruelly compelled her, using the pretext of avenging Lu Cece to force her into the fountain. I had merely intended to frighten her, never truly wishing to push her in. Yet, when she actually fell into the pool, panic seized me. I loathed my own indecisiveness, even unable to allow her a moment of embarrassment. Taking a few steps closer, I berated myself for my reluctance. So, what if I admitted defeat? As I contemplated leaping into the pool, I heard a long-forgotten call. Brother Zhou Yan. In a fleeting moment of distraction, someone else swiftly stepped in to rescue her. That night, I was beaten to a pulp, and I knew the orchestrator was Li Yunjia. My anger surged as I resisted. It was their siblings' fault, yet they remained so aggressive. I emerged from the encounter looking like a bruised mess, too embarrassed to face the young lady. When I later sought her out, the servant informed me that she had left with Jiang Ting, and my heart sank. The sight of her standing beside Jiang Ting was excruciating. I hurled a cup of milk tea at Jiang Ting, only to find her defending him against me, which pained me further. Overwhelmed with sorrow, I distanced myself from her for several days, trying to sort out my thoughts. I never expected that the next news I would receive about her would be of her demise. How could this be? How could it possibly be? I had yet to receive her apology. I had not forgiven her. I had not fulfilled my promise to marry her. How could she leave? Yet, upon witnessing Li Yunjia's frenzied demeanor, I understood that the news was true. In that moment, I was engulfed in confusion, even contemplating that as long as she awakened, I would endure any torment she wished to inflict upon me. Alas, my young lady would never again open her eyes. When I was taken away, dazed and drugged, I did not struggle. I could surmise who was behind it. The young lady was gone, and someone had to bear the brunt of the madman's rage. It mattered not. I was more than willing. A tragic end, indeed. At least I would gain a semblance of identity. The tale concludes here. Thank you for listening. And until we meet again in the next story.